Hello, everyone. I'm so grateful to be with you, and I'm still in Idaho in Thy Muses, and I think I'd really like to start today with a poem by Maya Angelou called "Prayer," and I really appreciate the medicine of her words always, and so I am listening to her heart in this time. Father, Mother God, thank you for your presence. I think of my friend Araceli Dominguez, and she always says, Mother, Father, Child, God. And I love that so much. Whenever she prays, she's like, Mother, Father, Child, God. And I appreciate that. So, but Maya Angelou, she says, Father, Mother God, thank you for your presence. During the hard and mean days, for then we have you to lean upon. Thank you for your presence during the bright and sunny days, for then we can share that which we have with those who have less. And thank you for your presence during the holy days, for then we are able to celebrate you and our families and our friends. For those who have no voice, we ask you to speak. For those who feel unworthy, we ask you to pour your love out into waterfalls of tenderness for those who live in pain. We ask you to bathe them in the river of your healing. For those who are lonely, we ask you to keep them company. We ask you to keep them company. For those who are depressed, we ask you to shower upon them the light of hope. Dear Creator, you, the borderless sea of substance, we ask you to give to all the world that which we need most: peace. Dear Creator, you, the borderless sea of substance, we ask you to give to all the world that which we most need: peace. And that is prayer, called Prayer Maya Angelou. Prayer Maya Angelou. And I'm sending a voice, I'm sending a prayer. And however we call the Creator, however we call the mystery, however we call Great Spirit or Tunkashala or Khan or Great Mystery, the Great Silence, the place where we have the opportunity to rest, to find peace, to find goodness. Um, One of the things that I notice, I have my cough drop right now. It's so delicious. I'm just like so grateful. Mm, really good. So I'm just going to tuck it in my cheek and hope I can talk that way. I hope. Um, and so one of the things that I've been thinking about is I've been thinking about patience, uh, and I'm super healthy, just so you know. Super healthy is just helping me with my voice. I've been talking a lot these past few days, so I'm really grateful that we have these things to make our throats feel better. So I was just thinking about the places that we rest, and where is it? Where is it that I rest, and where do I find some loving kindness, or where do I find that salve for my soul, that healing for my spirit, that healing for my soul? And um, I was talking to my mom a little bit today, and I know we have a couple of requests from her, so I asked her to talk with us again, and she said she would be happy to, and so she's developing some new ways for us to work with sustainability and continuity. But my brother, the other day, um, he had seen the talk that mom and I gave. One of my brothers saw the talk, and he sent me a photo, and it was his hand, and he had picked up a handful of soil. My brother Conrad, and I saw that handful of soil, and he said, "This is the medicine that our mother gave us. Is this soil?" And he was talking about, I believe, and we were talking about how she really taught us to leave things better than we found them, like that we could come to a place and that we could have such an impact that we could leave the soil better than we found it. And Conrad was just like, it was so beautiful to see. And he's a very big man. He's like, he's my little brother, right? But he is, yeah, he is 6'4", I think, and just his beautiful hand in that soil, and I know those beautiful hands and that wonderful that you know he is with that richness of the medicine is the soil, the medicine is the earth. But this is also soil that he had amended. So the soil, Mom and I were talking earlier that the soil that will be left there is better than the soil, or that soil has. Um, I don't know about better. The soil can be better or not better, but the soil has been nurtured and nourished, and that the plants on the land have been given more food, and that food has been, in the amending of the soil, and then the gift of the compost, and all of the ways that the soil has been, the earth is being given more of what she needs. And I think that there's some conversations that I've had with some other people around how one of the reasons that the earth is tired and not doing well is because at times is because we are not paying attention to her needs, or to her soul, or to the soulful ways in which we used to live. And it used to be we would give her our bodies when we died. It used to be we would give her all of these wonderful expressions of our body. We would give her, she would receive everything from us. And now we've just gotten to this place of such we purify everything, and I think that it's really had an impact on our relationship with the earth, and to have a soulful relationship with the earth, where we're able to give to her of ourselves, like of our very bodies, of the actual expression of what we really have to offer, which is ourselves. And so I was thinking about leaving things better than we find them, and what does that mean to me? Does that mean that I make sure to leave something for the earth, a small gift for the earth? Does it mean that I pay attention to the indigenous plants in my area, and I make sure to plant some more of them? Does it mean that I am conscious of when certain things die, and when certain things uh, are coming to life, so that I can nurture them and their well-being? So can we look around us? I was just thinking about, can we look around us, and can we, really have, I mean, for lack of a better term, can we have the patience to make things better? Can we have because it requires a certain amount of patience, um, to make things better. It requires a certain amount of kindness, diligence to make things better. And can I engage in that way? Can I engage in a way where I can let go of the need to create drama, so that I can feel like I'm alive? Can I let peace? Can I have peacefulness, and gentleness, and simplicity? Because simplicity is so immense and so complex. Can I allow that to be the place where I receive my life? And that is good, that to receive my life from that place, that is a good place to receive my life from, is from that place of ordinary, extraordinary life. And I think that, one of the things that we can ask ourselves is, am I hurting? And is someone else hurting? Or is that hurting someone or something? Or am I hurting myself? And how can I stop that? And when I think about making, leaving things better than I found them, I also think of ourselves. How can we leave ourselves, better than what we found at the beginning of the day? Like, I found myself in this place at the beginning of the day, and how can we nurture ourselves and care for ourselves in such a way where it's like, oh, today I feel like I did what I needed to do, or today I feel like I improved in these ways, or today I felt like, I had a good attitude in that situation where maybe I wouldn't have before, or today I was able to have a different conversation than the one I had before. And so I think that there's something about when we're thinking about leaving you know, um, leaving people and places and things better than we found them. We can think of our environment, our home, and we can also think of, our innate goodness. Like we have this innate goodness. We have these hearts beating inside of us that really, I really, really believe that we want the best for each other and that we want to do the right thing and that we want to encourage one another and to invite one another to new and better and more beautiful experiences. But it seems to me as though we must welcome life. We must welcome. There's a hospitality that I have seen. I've seen it with. There's a few people that I've seen it with, and I I remember that I was in the cohort in an Avitas program that is led. One of the leaders of that is David White, and I remember the first time that we went. It was he and Gail, his wife, and we went to his home. And I don't know. There is a hospitality that Gail and David carry that is so beautiful, and just that experience of really being invited from the body and the mind and the soul. Such a beautiful experience. And so there's an invitational quality that there is that he carries, and there's also, I believe, there's a hospitality that he and his partner, he and his beautiful wife, were able to exemplify in that moment. This sacred, it's like there's a sacred territory, a holy territory, a welcoming. Um, and I think in these last few years, we really, something I've noticed is that we don't have the white pages really or the yellow pages as much as we did. Like, we don't really, people don't give out their phone numbers the way that they used to. We don't, give out our addresses. That there's a hospitality when we do that. That there's a trust when we do something like that. That there is a prayer of welcoming and of a hospitality where we get to know that, because I know that when I left David and Gail's house, I was better than when that experience and the pleasure of their company and the pleasure of all my beautiful cohorts from Invitas and from just the beautiful experience that we were having together there, and the food and the good company, the poetry, the the mystery we were in together. And I think that that's something, a really beautiful experience where I really left feeling as though I was made better by every interaction that I had there, and in the shelter of that hospitality. And so I feel, and that there's a friendship and that there's a kinship that we don't really remember. That I think maybe we long for it, but we don't necessarily remember that it's something that we have the capacity to create. And so when I think of kinship, I think of, and when I think of, like, making or co-creating or experiencing things being better than how we originally found them. And so I think about this in a lot of different ways, but I also think about, when we enter into the wilderness, and how what's important is that the wilderness will let us know whether or not it's a good time. The wilderness will guide us and assist us and shelter us, but it also lets us know, well, hey, now's a good time, or now's not a good time. And so I think that there's a hospitality and a kindness that is so natural, that is so bountiful and that is so beautiful, and that it carries such a grace. Uh, that the earth has been so hospitable to us, and so how can we do the same thing? And I don't think you can improve on wilderness. I think wilderness is just perfect as it is. But I think that what is important is that the places where we have intruded, the places where we have felt welcomed, maybe it's maybe the places where we have felt welcome, but with the wilderness, it's like I always feel like, oh, I just want to step so carefully that I don't do any harm, that I really only do good things. Like, I'm always asking myself intuitively, like, is this a good step to take? Is this a good uh, place for me to be? Is this a place where I will be able to nurture and encourage all of life? And so I only go with permission. I only go where I'm asked to go. I don't go if I'm not asked. And if we are in contact with our instinctual nature, if we're in contact with our sacred self, if we're in contact with our soul, then we're going to be able to hear and trust that voice that says, "Yes, this is the time, or this is the place, or the willingness and ability to open our home and our life to welcome in the lives and the hearts and the gifts and the good company of others." And so I like to ask myself, when I go somewhere, as I'm leaving, is this, have I left the area better than I found it? Is it, have I left any traces that are not welcome? And the other thing that I was taught is that, you don't go anywhere without a gift. Like, you always bring some kind of gift when you go to someone's home, and I also learned that you ask permission before going to nature, or you are called or you are asked to go by someone or by that place itself. And when you go, you bring a gift. And something that I've done for many years is that when I buy organic produce, what I do is I will eat the produce, but I will save the seeds. And then if it's apples, and apples are, something that grows in my area, I can plant those apples. If it's peaches, and, maybe I'm in a place where there's enough sunshine to grow peaches, then I can leave peach seeds. Or, so there's a way where we can leave. I believe that hospitality is also related deeply to our generosity and our capacity for generosity and for thoughtfulness. And so I wonder about that capacity for thoughtfulness and for generosity that I see reflected in Gail, and I see reflected in David, but I also see something that I saw in my mentor, my beloved mentor, Angelus Arian, that she always had that generosity and hospitality, and there was never a time where I didn't feel encouraged by her. I always felt so encouraged by her presence and by her thoughts and by her words. And so I think about how can we really encourage one another, and we're in our homes, and maybe we're in nature, or maybe we go to the park, or maybe we are taking a walk around our own neighborhood. But is this place on earth better than the place that I came to? Is this home? Is this relationship? Is this experience? Is this, I mean, the park? Is this, the sidewalk that I'm walking down? Um, can I be curious enough to wonder, am I paying attention to what this place needs? Or to what will bring light, or what will bring medicine, or what will bring realness, authenticity, depth to this place. What will bring truth? And so, I wonder, how can we leave this place better than we found it? And so I think about indigenous plants. I think about, with our homes, with experience because of our presence. And one of the things that I watched my mother do is we can be anywhere and people just smile. Like, she has this ability to help people smile. And we can be in a grocery store, and she can transform a grumpy grocery clerk into a smiling a person who's really having a better day than maybe when she found them. And I've just watched her do that for so many years. Just that ability to just make things better than when she found them. Um, and I'm wondering about how how each of us can have the vulnerability to do that, how each of us can have that level of hospitality and that level of generosity with our loved ones, but also with the people that we don't know, and also with the places where we need to cultivate soul and maintain soul, and where we need to make some corrections, and we need to make some connections with a deep level of honor and respect. And I wonder about how we can do that, and that, in the ways in which we have been able to cultivate, our intelligence. That now we need an intelligence that is soulful, that is an intelligence of the soul, and to craft a way where we can restore the soul of our relationships with the plants and the animals, with ourselves, with each other, but that there can be a soulfulness and a depth and a welcoming that is the ability to care about the impact, that we're having. And so I think that uh, one of the things that we can do is we can just think about at the end of each day, I always like to give a little exercise at the end of our conversations, but, you know, um, did I connect the way I wanted to today? And we can reflect on that, did I, you know, and if not, then I can correct. Is there anything that I want to correct? Do I need to, stand connected, stand corrected, stand respected, stand connected? And so, if I'm not connecting, how come? If I'm in this place, a better place, and it's going to make my internal world uh, a better place to live. It's also going to make my external world a better place to live. And I think about, how can we be touched? How can we be moved? How can we be generous? The spirit of our generosity. And so, how can it be? How can I have this capacity to say an unconditional yes to life? As Carl Jung said, how can I say an unconditional yes to life and to the circumstances that I'm in, while still saying, hey, we all have room for improvement. And how can I improve myself in these different ways? And I have a couple of things that I was thinking about. Besides, how can I leave it better? I mean, if I found it, great. It's not going to be easy to leave it better. Like the earth is pretty amazing, but how can I protect? In addition to connect with that is a way to align with what is most important, with what we value, and with the mystery and with the soul work of the soul. And the soul wants to be hospitable. The soul wants to open. The soul wants to be generous. The soul wants to give. The soul wants to receive. And so, how can we align with that? How can we align with what the soul wants? And I wrote this about 3 weeks ago, and it's called "For a Long Time." For a long time. If I kept you here, you could make the smallest sound, as though you were an entire planet speaking in strange language. Exactly the beauty of what it means. Exactly the beauty of what it means. Not someone else. That own glorious, monumental genius, flares of mountains singed in green, evergreen encouragement, a future built on past, welcoming. What can be done now? What can be done now? We are watching for dawn. If I kept you here, you could make the smallest sound, as though you were an entire planet speaking in strange language. Exactly the beauty of it means not someone else, not someone else. That's own glorious, monumental genius. That is own, owning our own glorious, monumental genius, flares of mountains, singed in green, evergreen encouragement of future built on past, welcoming what can be done now. We are watching for dawn. We watching for dawn. And so I was thinking about, when we're asked, and can I welcome that invitation when I am asked? And the final thing that I wanted to read was uh, when we are asked. There's nothing to decide. The underwater sea has blamed the tidal waves striking onto this gaze. I didn't find you able to become anything new, but wondered at trembling voice and shimmering hands. Cloaked in madness, calling out names of people and stones within the bodies of leaves and faces of snowflowers, deer tongue, trillium. Wild strawberries grew there, and we could feel the rush of glacial wind on our faces. We never gave up anything real. We must keep dancing and singing to the trees. My mother asked me to do this. There is no way for anything else. There is no way for anything else. When we are asked, there's nothing to decide. The underwater sea has blamed the tidal waves striking onto this gaze. I didn't find you able to become anything new, but wondered at trembling hands and voice and shimmering hands, cloaked in madness, calling out names of people and stones within the bodies of leaves and faces of snow flowers, deer tongue, trillium, wild strawberries grew there. We could feel the rush of glacial wind on our faces. We never gave up anything real. We must keep dancing and singing to the trees. My mother asked me to do this. There's no way for anything else. So when we're asked, what do we do when we're asked? Do we open to the asking? Are we hospitable to the asking? Close when we're asked? Do we become shy when we're asked? Sometimes shyness looks sacred to us or special to us. Sometimes shyness is a way of hiding or not opening. Sometimes shyness means, oh, something is private, and that's okay too. Strike able to become anything new, but wondering at trembling voice and shimmering hands, cloaked in madness, calling out names of people and stones within the bodies of leaves and faces of snowflowers, deer tongue, and trillium. Wild strawberries grew there. We could feel the rush of glacial wind on our faces. We never gave up anything real. Do not give up anything real. We never gave up anything real. We must keep dancing and singing to the trees. My mother asked me to do this. There's no way for anything else. There's no way for anything else. And I remember, I remember when there's a ceremony that my family does and I love this ceremony very much. It's a ceremony where you dance and you dance for several days and you don't have food or water, but it's a sacred dance. And I remember, my mother, my Honka mother, Barbara. Barbara means Adams. Asked me many times to come to the dance, and when she was living, and I always found a way to not. I was so resistant to that, and it's so interesting when you think about, like when I think about my resistance, and then all of my brothers are dancers of one kind or another, either powwow dancers or they dance at this sacred dance that we have, and so all of my brothers are dancers, and one of my brothers is actually a really gifted. He's an incredibly gifted country western dancer and two step and 10 step and all the steps dancer also and my beautiful sister-in-laws, just they're all dancers. And I love to dance, but I just had so much, and I was like, oh my god. And then my other mother, who's also a dancer, at this sacred dance. My only wish is that you will dance at this dance. That is my only desire. That's my biggest, greatest desire. Sure, it wasn't her only one, but her greatest desire. And I really thought about it, and I thought, uh, the and I'd been to the dance, but I hadn't danced. I'd supported other dancers. I had, done things to support the dance in a number of ways, but I hadn't danced. And then finally, it came the right time, and I was able to face uh, the resistance that I had inside of myself to what I really needed, which was I needed to dance by prayer. I needed to do what I could do, and what my family was asking me to do, and my mother was asking me to do, so that and my loved ones were asking me to do, so that I could really dance the prayer, and show up for the soul of the world in a different way. And it's in a way that requires strength and courage, um, and and I think that is what is required of us all. We're all required to do whatever we can, and it requires a lot of strength and courage, and that, we can resist it for as long as we want. We can resist these things for as long as we want, but if we can, like, dive into the resistance that we feel, and and allow it to open to us, and to open us, and to show us what it wants to teach us, and to ask it its own, to ask us its own questions, and to allow that level of inquiry with ourselves. And especially at this time, we have that opportunity, and that if we can really be with that and move through it, then I feel like we have another level of hospitality, another level of hospitality, and tenderness toward ourselves, and another level of healing. And so, as I think a lot of us, there's maybe perhaps rituals that we would do during this time that we have not been able to do. And um, I mean, my plan is to go to the ceremonial, the dance that I've been, going to these many years, and to dance my prayer. But what's true is that we can have these rituals, these rituals of really bringing our heart, our longing, our yearning, our message, our medicine, uh, our gift, our soul, to life, and to make a better life for ourselves, and for others, and for future generations. And so, thank you so much. I'm so grateful, and I love you guys, and thank you for your precious comments, um, and I cherish you. And the Dalai Lama, there's something that he says in his mind whenever he meets someone new, and he says, "I cherish you. I cherish you. I cherish you. I cherish me. I cherish me. I cherish me. I cherish all of the gifts that you bring. I'm grateful for all that I'm learning from you. I cherish you. I cherish you. I cherish you." Thank you so much. I'll see you on Wednesday. See you Wednesday. I look forward to it. Bye bye.